What stands out to you the most about these crime statistics?
The thing that stands out the most to me about our crime statistics is we put them in a format where it's based on the last 5 years. We do a percentage of how much it's increased. And when you're looking at all these things, we have stuff that's gone down by a large amount, like mail theft and shoplifting is down 49 and 51%. That's a lot. That's huge. But on the flip side, we have non-residential burglaries are up 25%. And people might look at that and say, well, back in February, it was up 92% for burglaries to commercial businesses. But when you look at that statistic, realistically, if we lived in a perfect world, our crime stats would be at zero every year. It'd be the same moving forward, or they'd go lower. So if we see a 5% increase in burglaries, we know that's not good, and we need to focus on burglaries. When you're seeing everything is at 17, 25, 60, 80% increases, that's a really big problem for us to try to tackle, because we have so many different categories that are way above a 5% increase, which would normally draw our attention. We're looking at, the 20 to like I said, 80% increases on crime. So where do we focus? How do we use our resources that we have that are limited, because we have a growing population and we have way more calls coming in. So it's just a good way to kind of measure where we are as a department. And right now, all jurisdictions throughout the state, pretty much in the country, are seeing a decrease in the amount of law enforcement officers. And then we're also seeing an increase in violent crime as well. And then stolen vehicles for us, and commercial burglaries too.
So you do see a decrease compared to the beginning of the year. What do you attribute that decrease in burglaries, aggravated assaults, and armed robberies compared to last January, February?
We have, it's just a snapshot when you're looking at the beginning of the year. So sometimes you can just have a really bad month and it's going to make it look way worse than it actually is over the course of the whole year. So that's one factor. But then the other factor too, we know that we had opened our jail recently, and we're taking some misdemeanors, and we're taking the lower level felonies like burglaries. So we're arresting more burglars this month, and they're actually going to jail. You're going to see a decrease in the amount of crimes that they can go out and commit, because we know that these guys are committing these offenses over and over and over again.
Were you able to open up some of the jail bookings and ease some of the restrictions?
It's a very good question.
Did you hire a bunch of corrections deputies? Did the health department lift their sanctions? Like what
no, the health sanctions were imposed by us ourselves. We were just working in coordination with the health department, but the health department didn't decide what we did or didn't allow to come into the jail. And recently it's been due to staffing, not because of COVID. When we do have a COVID outbreak, imagine we have 10 pods where we can hold 80 people per pod. One of those pods has a COVID outbreak. They shut that pod down so no one can leave or go back into there. So no new inmates would go in that pod, but we still have the other 9 pods to book people in and out of. So that's how COVID affects our booking restrictions. But for the most part, we've been able to work around those smaller outbreaks that we've had. The biggest issue now is staffing. And we put out information about how short staffed we are. We're short nearly 60 corrections deputies in the jail, but we're able to fill some of those positions that we're short on with overtime. The biggest thing is going to be making sure that we can clear people out of the jail when we can. So we have people being held on mental health holds through the state, and we all that are waiting for evaluations at places like Western State Hospital. And then we have a backlog of cases from the prosecutor's office that we're working through. So as we're releasing those people, it's creating some room in the jail as well.
We're calling the show this week the Spotlight Broken Record, because time and time again, we see criminals emboldened. They're running from deputies. They just feel like they can get away with it. Are you telling me that the time has changed now and some of these criminals are going to be arrested when you can get probable cause and they are going to spend some more time in jail?
We are arresting people for auto theft and burglary again. Those are two of the biggest crimes that we've seen an increase in over the past couple of years. And we were unfortunately not able to book them because, again, low staffing and the jail being shut down due to COVID outbreaks. I won't say restrictions, outbreaks. But now if we get one of those guys in custody that has been stealing cars, they go to jail and they're going to get assigned a bail from the prosecutor's office. Sometimes they can make that bail. A lot of times they can't. But the good news is that, yes, people are going back to jail for stealing cars, breaking into houses, breaking into commercial structures. And that's going to help us a lot by, we know that they reoffend over and over again. So we're catching these guys, getting them off the street. That's less cars that we're seeing stolen. And if you look at the auto theft task force, we were up near 1,000 cars taken in February or March. And now we're back down to about 700 or 800 in a month, which is way, way better. You know, it's still really high for us as a county, but I'd rather be going the trend going down than going back up.
What's the takeaway for the public from these new statistics that kind of compare this year to the last 5 years?
The takeaway for the public. Let's see. I'd say one of the big takeaways for us is, we're short-staffed. Other agencies are short-staffed. Having a fully staffed police department is helpful. And we've shut down some of our proactive units where those guys are out looking for stolen vehicles, looking for violent offenders, looking for people that are constantly, victimizing everybody in the community. If we can't have a fully staffed police department or a sheriff's department, then we have to start cutting other units. So those proactive units go away, and they were doing a lot of work that you might not have noticed. But with the increase in crime now, people are probably hoping and wishing that we had some of those proactive units to go after some of the crimes that we're seeing over and over again.
Yeah. So I'm on an email chain right now with some of the top folks at the WSP about their decision perhaps to remove some of the detectives from the auto theft task force. Is Pierce County going to continue to be part of that task force no matter what happens, even if it's a smaller task force? And if so, why is that important to your department?
Right now, yes, we're going. Well, I I don't know. I didn't know the state patrol was going to drop out, but right now
they're having meetings about it now, so I heard about it. So I raised a red flag yesterday and said I wanted to do a big story this weekend. And, I emailed everybody but Batiste just about at State Patrol. So they're going to meet today and then call me back. But they're going to not replace the detective sergeant position. They're going to move 3 detectives, 2 to Tacoma, one to Tacoma, 2 to Bellevue. Obviously, those detectives are not thrilled about that. But that's a lot of brain trust there, knowing who's involved in car theft, which ties to everything else. So I guess what I'm asking you is, as a department for you guys, how important, where does auto theft rank in importance for you guys?
The auto theft task force is very helpful and beneficial for us. I've heard multiple calls for auto theft task force detectives to come out and try to assist the deputies with recovering stolen vehicles or having a stolen vehicle with a person in it that they're arresting, and like, hey, we want you to talk to a detective, see if we can find more of your buddies that are stealing cars, or where are you taking these cars. We don't have enough people to follow up on property crimes. We have violent assaults and murders that we have to investigate that take priority over someone's car getting stolen. So having somebody or a whole unit to go after these guys that are stealing cars over and over again, the prolific car thieves, it's extremely beneficial. So I would hope that the task force can continue to move or continue to, gosh, man, I'm losing my words here.
Yeah,
I would hope that the task force can stay fully staffed, or at least continue to be staffed with some detectives, because we know it helps our deputies who can't go out and do follow-up investigations on these crimes.
Yeah. It's the time of year for package thieves. People have stuff that other criminals who have a fentanyl or meth addiction want to steal. With not a lot of deputies are able to respond sometimes quickly, what is your message to homeowners, the public, to protect themselves and their belongings? Extra vigilance
for package theft?
I mean, any of this. If you're saying that there's not enough people to follow up on the property crimes, right? So it behooves all of us to try to not be a victim. Right? Don't leave our car running. Don't make sure we lock our windows and our doors. I mean, some of the basic stuff that you can't take your safety for granted anymore, can you? Even in a nice community in Pierce County.
Yeah, that's correct. And we know, I had neighbors in the past that, oh, we're from Alaska and we don't lock our doors, or we don't take our stuff out of our cars. And then the next week, somebody cut their soft top on their Jeep and stole their wallet off the front seat. And we say, man, you should know better. But I mean, people don't want to live that way. People shouldn't have to live in fear of their car getting broken into or their wallet getting taken out of the car if they forget to take it out. But that's the reality of the world we live in right now. People need to be aware that these things happen. Make sure that you're doing everything that you can to limit your exposure to these crooks that are, some of them are just opportunistic. They see it something they can take opportunity and they're going to go for it. Not all of them are 100% just going and doing robberies or burglaries all night. Some of them are just walking by. Hey, this door is unlocked. They're checking every single door handle. When your door is unlocked, guess whose car is getting stolen or guess whose stuff is getting taken. So you got to be vigilant on your own. Having security at your home is great. It's not 100% going to protect you from everything, but it gives us a place to start. If we don't have any evidence to go off of and we have no surveillance footage, it makes it really hard for us to assign it to a detective or a deputy to follow up on. But if you do have surveillance footage or your neighbors have surveillance footage, not only can we do something about it, but we can also send that stuff to you guys. And we know you guys do a great job of putting out suspects that we're looking for in some of these cases.